Anita here, back again with another video. I'm so happy to see all of you. The numbers have been going up in my subscription, so I thank all of you for taking the time to hit that notification button and the subscribe button. And I encourage any one of you who's new here to first do that, and then let's get on with the episode. Alright, so my name is Anita, a mama of two who also trades in the foreign exchange market, and today I want to talk about something we were talking about the other day with my husband, and that is fear and greed. So let's talk about fear and greed. Any good book, when you're starting out in Forex and you get all the books, you start getting books and you start reading about trading and trading psychology. Most of the books, the first chapter you will read is all about greed and fear. In fact, greed and fear are such huge motivators in most markets and industries that stock analysts and forex traders came up with a whole index. It's called a fear and greed monitor. Literally, that's how they learn what the market is gonna do, and that's what controls the market in terms of volatility and unpredictability. So fear and greed are such huge motivators for the market that I was like, if people can use that to literally analyze the market like that, how about I use it to analyze my own life and gauge my own fears and my own greed levels, or rather talk about my greed quotient. And I was struggling with this because when I picked up this book early this year, Think and Grow Rich, a lot of people were like, oh, it's such a good read. Guys, this is not a good read. This is a Bible. This is a journal. This is a book that literally you will read for a long time, or you'll read over and over again, because this book has been guiding me in terms of just generally thinking and generally talking about fear and greed and where I am at with all that. So there's a chapter in this book. I think it's the last chapter. Yeah, it's the last chapter. It's called The 6 Ghosts of Fear. Okay, so in this book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, he talks about taking inventory of yourself as you read this chapter, and finding out how many ghosts of fear that you have within yourself that stand in your way in terms of achieving your goals, or in terms of going forth and doing what you need to do. As I said earlier, I trade in the foreign exchange market, and in terms of fear and greed, fear literally controls when I will enter a trade or when I will jump into a trade, and greed literally controls when I decide to come out of that trade. How much money have I made? How much money am I thinking I can make? Can I revenge trade this? All those are controlled by fear and greed. So given that there are certain ghosts behind those fears and greeds that control my movement within trying to get what I want to achieve, you need to be able to break it down within your life, how those things apply, where they stem from, and how you can curb and control them or use them for good. Because I will tell you right now, fear and greed will never leave your body. Those are sort of intrinsic natures that are within us. Even in my children, when you see them during their growing up process, when they're hitting their milestones, you can literally see fear in them. No one taught them that. It came from their bodies or their lineage or their DNA. I can't explain the science, but they're literally born with it. And greed, when you see a child literally grabbing all the toys, that's greed, and no one taught them that. And it's the most innocent of traits. You cannot demonize it. You cannot look at it as a negative trait. It grows into a worse trait if you don't know how to control it, or someone doesn't teach you how to face it and use it as a positive energy. Fear and greed are two emotions that are very primal within us. So as you know, fear can also stop you from doing things that are dangerous. It allows you to stop before jumping over a cliff, for you to gauge the pitfalls early. And greed is another very basic, very primal emotion that just allows us to either want to do more, to do better, to get more, to thrive, strive for more. So all these emotions, yes, can be very negative, but also can be very positive in the long run when nurtured in the right way. And that's why I was saying, even in children, it's already within them. So It's our job to try and nurture it in the best way possible for them to be able to live their best lives and to, take advantage of all the opportunities in life that is given to them or presented to them. So I'm just going to read off this chapter and just mention a few of the fears that they talk about, okay? So they talk about 6 basic fears, all right? They talk about fear of poverty being the most destructive fear, okay? Fear of poverty being the most destructive fear. Then there's also fear of criticism. There is fear of health. That is fear of ill health, okay? Then there's fear of loss of love. And there's fear of criticism. And there's fear of old age. And there's fear of not meeting your potential. So there are a few fears that this book allows you to go through and kind of like break down and try do better in the future for your own self. Talking about how to deal with fear and greed and try to change it into a positive or try to use it to your best advantage. The first thing you need to do is understand that you're not alone. All of us are driven by those 2 emotions, very highly motivated by those 2 emotions. They are the reasons why we do what we do. And once you see someone reacting a certain way to something, understand that either they're motivated by mostly fear or greed. And you have to understand at what point, or rather where on the greed and fear index they are. For example, if you're in the middle, I feel like that's a good balance between fear and greed. Or if you have more fear or more greed, then it can also go negatively. So it's up to you to decide and to decide the type of surrounding you'll put yourself in. And then number 2 is have a plan. You just have to have a plan. It's inevitable if you want to do better. Write down all the things you fear. We already talked about all the ghosts of fear, right? Fear of poverty, bad health, fear of not meeting your potential. Note them down and be as specific as possible. So if it's poverty, are you afraid that you will be in a poor environment, or is it the money that you're thinking about? Will you not be able to make enough money? And if it's money, are you trying to look at it in terms of how much money can I make before the age of X? Or am I looking at generational wealth, like I won't be able to attain it for my children? So jot those down, and on the next column right next to it, write down exactly what you need to turn that negative or ghost into a positive. So if it's fear of poverty, what do you need to do? Either get a job, start a business, do whatever you do really well so that people love it and ask for more of it. Find a plan. Do a kind of like a pros and cons list of each and every fear that you have. And I was just talking about fear the other day with a friend of mine, and she was just getting ready to quit her job, and she was so afraid, and she had not even thought about what she wanted to do just yet. She was just doing an analysis of her life and where it's at. I'm telling you, being 30 and over 30 and growing up, over 25 and growing up is crazy. So she was just doing an inventory of her own life and where she's at and what she wants to do. And literally, we were talking about the fears that we have, or the fears that have been stopping us from doing certain things. And in the end, we concluded that the most overall fear that we have is remaining the same, because nothing will change. And the fear of nothing changing transcended each and every other fear that we had on that list. And, for us to come to that conclusion, it was really magical to us, because we understood now what we have to do to get to the next level is to find a way to change for the better. So that is one thing to do. Just write an inventory of all your fears, write them down. And then 2, analyze your risks. Write them down. Write down all the pitfalls, all your negative traits, all the things that have been stopping you right now. You literally have to be so honest with yourself. Jot it down and be as honest as possible. And then number 4, action. Everything, you have to put action to it to work. So get on the road, put on some music, step on the gas, and get on with it. You have to literally do the work. You have to do the work for it to work. So that is how you can deal with greed and fear for the positive. Don't think about it like it's such a horrible trait to have. Yes, it is. It hasn't been nurtured before, but this is time for you to pick it up and use that energy for good. Change it into a positive energy. So I will advise anyone to pick up this book today. And if you don't have access to this book, you can literally find an online version on YouTube. I think there's chapter by chapter version, or I think it's a very short, deep book, but I think someone has broken it down online. I'll find the link and put it in the description bar below. But find this book, go through it. I do have a team that we read this book together, and we literally just talk about some of these things and apply them to our normal lives and see where we can improve on. Because right now I feel most of the people in their 30s are really doing a lot of shadow work, trying to be better because they're having children, and they're literally seeing their fear and greed being passed on to those children, you know, or rather us making their fear and greed even worse. So if you're a parent and you're already trying to figure out your fears and your greed levels, I think you're already doing such a stand-up job. Keep doing it. And if you've not yet started the process, it's a growth process. You can start today. And yeah, guys, it's crazy. Yeah, growing up is crazy. Yeah, it requires a lot of inward look. So that's part of what I've been doing for the past year. If you're gonna pick up this book, I suggest you pick up a journal or an empty book, and whenever you're reading it, write next to it, write every chapter down, write what applies to you. It has so many chapters on things that are blockages in our lives that allow you to stop thinking and growing rich. So this is literally a block remover. So get this book, guys. Yeah, that's all I had to say today. For those who have not yet subscribed, please just do it now before the episode ends, and then I will catch you in the next episode. Bye.